Your idea was that, right?
My guess is like 60.
Okay, great. All right, let's go ahead and get started. The regular weekly meeting of the Senate of the Student Government Association is now in session. This meeting is currently recorded live. Roll call.
Yeah, Lexi Tillman. Ryan Zoll. Julia Clemente. Lily Brogan. Janui. Peter Bowen. Randy Sullivan. Ben.
EAC is in the middle of a meeting right now, I assume. And should be walking in any second.
Would you mind just seeing if they're outside? That'd be great.
They're in a classroom. Yeah, 006, I think it's 701.
Okay, we'll keep it moving. The chair will be in favor of a motion to approve last week's minutes. Is that seconded? All in favor? Approved. Okay, move into executive reports. Jenny, if you're coming in, just grab a seat. Matt will check you off.
Hello, everyone. I'd first like to congratulate Keith on the best SGA roast. He said I would make a roast, but I don't want Eli to hug me. Which made me laugh.
Keith, come here, man.
Just giving you all an update, you can see behind the clothing drive. So we have some boxes, that's not all of them, but it's an okay attempt. It's not like an amazing amount of clothes, but I think the town is going to be really happy. So thank you so much for contributing that. Tomorrow, also, I'm sure Lucy will talk about the letters to staff events, But we have something like 350 staff members to write letters to, and that's a lot of letters. So if it ends up just being like 10 people, that's going to be pretty hard. So even like you showing up and writing like 3 or 4 would really help. And you get free rig. So please come, make sure you come, it's 7 o'clock tomorrow. Also, so our cabinet is working on some really cool things. Abby has been working on safety trainings. So that's offering free opportunities for students to get CPR certified, AED certified.
It's not certified.
Oh, not certified. Basic training. So that should be going out to the school soon. We also have other really cool things like Christina Whaler has been working on the menstrual cups, like I said. So we're hoping that that will come out later this month. Usman and Tomas have been working on the flag issue in Frank, as well as beginning to make ourselves the presence of SGA known amongst the international student community. We have big projects like Molly's planning the CLSI banquet that replaces the usual SGA Student Association. And then really exciting, today we got news that Congresswoman Scallon, who graduated from Colgate and represents Pennsylvania, she wants to come to Colgate. So the SGA will be bringing her there, which is huge for us. Yeah, so all really cool things. I'll have more updates for you next week. But as far as I'm concerned, please just come tomorrow, and I'll see you all later.
Jen, question.
Yes?
What's the CLSI thing?
So basically, because you know that the Student Association every week is essentially just, or every year is SGA, like telling SGA what SGA has done, and it's not very effective. And so there is a way to better incorporate it with like clubs. So to have like a big banquet with all sorts of clubs and club leaders, and like Dewey can talk, and we all can talk and talk about like what we've achieved as a community instead of just us talking to us. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Jenny. BAC?
So just an overview, we have $108,000 left for the semester. And on Sunday's meeting, everything went smoothly, but 2 noteworthy things were we denied Passover because the budget was pretty bad and we told them to resubmit. And we approved Scopes the MAC, so that's a new concert series happening in the Parker Commons for $30,000. And also for starting this semester, we've updated this sheet with the votes, so who voted yes and no. So we also updated that in the sheet, so you can take a look at that when you get a chance. And any questions? What's the map? It's a new program going on in Parker Commons, where musical events will be thrown each month. I'm not exactly sure what's going on with that, but it just started this semester. So we funded $30,000 of that to bring more artists to it. So you should attend it. I think their Facebook posts, if you see it, just go check it out. So we funded that. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Bobby. Okay. Lucy?
Okay, so as Jenny mentioned, we have the thank you note event, so that's at 7 in the box room, and there's a rig if you write 4 thank you notes, so please come, tell your friends. I'll send out the picture of the poster, so you can post it on your Insta story and make everyone else show up. So tell everyone, because I don't want to write 200 thank you notes and eat a crap ton of rig, so you come, you write some thank you notes and eat some rig. And then we went over gov boards with the gov board selection committee, so we've narrowed it down, so we're going to do some interviews hopefully this weekend and get everyone put on those positions, which will be great. And then also, I've worked with the election commissioners to get our last senator in, so next Tuesday we should have 40 senators and finally be on track, so we're going to get 1 more junior senator who will be, voting will start at midnight on Friday and will close at midnight on Sunday. And if you're if you know juniors who want to run, they need their signatures in by noon on Friday.
Okay, yeah, just on that note, especially if you're in the junior class, which I am, if you have friends, just say, hey, maybe you'd be interested in this. Tell them a little bit about what we do, because we would like to have that seat filled. I skipped the liaison. Is Dewey here?
I have the text.
Okay, can we get that report?
He said we have the Aerial Arts Club coming forward this week, and we just had a student group training today for it. Get involved, EMS, and Colgate.
Great. So we'll see that club in a little bit.
And also, sorry, as part of my report, Christina wanted to talk about something, so
Yeah.
here she is.
Feel free to come down.
So Carry Your Trash Week is happening for sustainability in the office. So basically, the average person generates 4.9 pounds of trash per day in America, and 75% of that is recyclable, so just over 3.5 pounds. And I'm guessing that you guys don't actually all do that. Most people don't. The average recycling rate is 34%. At Colgate, it's actually even lower, varying between like 5 and 12%. It's pretty bad. So basically, Carry Your Trash Week is an opportunity for you guys to carry a plastic bag with you for 1 week, and you will put all of your trash in that bag for a week. And so you can put everything from plastic things, packaging, any type of like waste that's recyclable or non-recyclable, and you just don't put food waste in there, anything that's going to smell, any like dirty napkins or anything like that, don't put that. And so let me just double check the date on that. So it is February 10th through the 16th, so it's coming up. And 2 lucky participants will be chosen for a gift card raffle, $10 to Ryberry. And basically we're trying to raise awareness, and you carry the bag with you to class. And yeah, so actually correction on that, don't put your recyclables in there, just non-recyclable waste. Got it. Recycle everything else. And definitely do it because it's a really good opportunity to understand what kind of trash you produce and start recycling more often. It's one of the issues we're tackling this semester. So, thanks.
Any questions on that?
And definitely tell your friends. I guess we'll send out maybe the poster in the group feed so you guys can do that.
Absolutely. Yep. Okay, Luke?
Hey everyone. Good to see you all. So like Lucy said, we sat down right before this meeting and worked out finalists for governance boards. So during the meeting, I'm working on sending out emails to everybody who has been selected to interview. So hopefully we'll get those interviews done over the weekend and have those positions selected. We did not receive any applications for ITS Policy Committee, so if any of you know anyone who would be good at that, please tell them to reach out to me. Hopefully we can get that position filled by the end of the week as well, because that's an important one. Speaking of ITS policy, I had a meeting with them yesterday. Micah and Cecilia were there to talk about printers. We worked out a suitable action plan, so we just need to make sure that everybody on the SGA page is on the same page and on board with that, and then we can get going with installing those printers, so that'll be exciting in Parker Commons in 113 Broad. And then I am meeting with Dean Taylor tomorrow to talk about the administrative deans as a resource for students and how we can better promote them and get students to visit their administrative deans more. So that's pretty much it for me. Any questions? Cool.
Thank you, Luke. And now from me. Okay, so a couple things. So we launched the Buy and Sell Facebook page. Credits to Nick Greco for the idea. Right now it's sitting at like 130 something members, so not great. So I would ask that if everyone could take out their phone and go on their Facebook app and invite 5 of your friends to the page. That would be great. The other thing I would say about it is, ideally it's a useful group, so I would encourage you to set the tone, and if you have anything in your room, from an old Frisbee to your textbooks, which presumably are the things that most people would want to get rid of, go ahead, post them in the group. Let's see if it will work. Hopefully it will. Things like eye clickers. I'm in a class where you need eye clickers. I know that would be something that if people have bought for, well, I don't even know how much those go for, like 50, 60 bucks. If you want to just get like 20 bucks in return for it, I'm sure somebody would buy your eye clicker. Little things like that. Graphing calculators, I don't know. Anyway, let's try and get that group to at least have enough members where if people had things they wanted to sell, it would be worthwhile.
Is it the Colgate yard sale one?
No.
That was the one I made. I'm going to delete that right now. Sounds good.
Oh, that might be a better name. We could change the name. We could do something like that. Anyway, it's Colgate Buy plus Sell. So that's just one little thing. Okay, I want to talk about committees really quickly before we hear from the chairs. So First thing is, I guess this applies to everyone, they're going to have access to the 2018-2019 Senate folder. Is this something that people know about, ever use? Raise your hand if you have not seen this or don't believe you have access to it. Okay, all right. We can fix that if you come talk to me at the end. Point being, there is now a committees folder in it. So the hope is, not the hope, what will be happening is if you are a committee chair, you will go into your respective folder and you will be completing these rolling minutes. So each time you can just copy and paste this general thing. Why? It's for attendance in one part, but also just so you have like a rolling list of all the things that you've been working on. So each time you're not just sitting and saying, okay, what's up? I don't know, I'm gonna go get some chicken tenders from the coop. Okay, see you guys next week. So please do this. I would like to say about committees is that in the past, some years, they've been really great. People have brought ideas from their committees, group of 5, 6 people, all in the same committee have said, let's do this. We're gonna do it by one person doing this, one person doing that, and the next person doing this, and it's like this, and you get the idea done. And then there's been some years where committees don't meet. People say, oh, let's just text something over our group chat, and then that'll be it. So what I want to say about committees is you should have a set time. You should all set out and say, this is the day and time that works for me, and this is the place where we're going to meet. And preferably it should not be at 6:45 before Senate. I'm not trying to knock any group. It's something that I've done in the past, and it's obviously the most convenient, or it would seem to be a convenient time. But I would really strongly encourage you to not meet right before Senate. Why? You can't really get anything done in between the 10 minutes that you've met with your committee and the time that you're going to say what you did on the floor. The ideal meeting time would be maybe a Wednesday or a Thursday, midweek, sometime before the weekend, where you could get actual things done in between your committee meeting and the Senate meeting. We could sit here for a whole semester and committee chairs or secretaries could come up and say, we're going to think about doing this, and then if you don't meet in your committee, you're never going to get it done. So I really want to put an emphasis on committees this year, so that's why I've been talking for the last 5 minutes about. Any questions about that? Okay, well then I would love to hear from the committee chairs. So academic affairs.
What is up, everyone? Good to see you all. Emma and I are co-chairs of academic affairs, and we have a couple of exciting projects to tell you about as we're kicking off the semester here. Kind of typical business that we usually do, faculty syllabi and faculty office hours. We created a spreadsheet and have requested that all our members email all the faculty and all the departments to get all the syllabi for their courses. So far, have you received many responses? I think I received 1.
I received 3, and I talked to the classics department chair at class the 3rd.
Fantastic. I also reached out to Dean Bellinger, who's in charge of faculty office hours, and he is trying to get those up by this coming Friday. I'll be touching base with him on Friday to confirm that. Thanks to Kate Bundy, we have some excellent new ideas about cross-departmental lunches and credit for internships, because I know some of us have gone on internships and we learn a lot, we do a lot, but then Colgate, for whatever reason, doesn't actually recognize what we've done and what we've learned, and it would be just a really cool thing to have some additional credit on our transcripts to actually prove that what we have done over the summer is valid and means something instead of just, something in a resume. Besides that, we are looking at some cross-departmental lunches to kind of bridge the gaps between math or science or language and really show that these subjects in practice are much more integrated, and we want faculty and students to just get together and talk about these subjects in a fun, enjoyable, and meaningful way. We're also thinking about adding some new courses to the core curriculum. Traditionally, you have legacies and modernity, communities, identities, global engagements. But we thought that, going forward, our world is becoming increasingly technological. Media plays a huge role, social media, in our election. And having studied that myself, it really amazes me that at least basic knowledge about media literacy, how to, know what's coming your way through your phone is not taught as part of our education, especially going into this increasingly digital age. So that's something I'm going to raise with AAB and see if there can be some way to build that either into syllabi or into the core curriculum itself. That's it from me.
Yeah.
Anything else? Perfect.
Are there any questions or suggestions? Yeah.
A professor emailed me yesterday about potentially hosting a conversation with different professors to come together and kind of have a debate. So So I just forwarded you the email, but that could be
Fantastic.
a place to start.
Thanks, Jenny. All right, thanks everyone.
Okay, thank you, AAC. EAC Chair.
Hi, I'm your co-chair. Hi, I'm Janui.
I'm also your co-chair. I'm Ryan.
Yeah, okay, so we did just meet at 6:40, the opposite of what you liked.
But we're not going to do that again. Nope, not again.
That's fine for this week.
So we don't have a whole long list of all the things that we want to accomplish for this semester, but we got some great suggestions. Genevieve mentioned a food and dining passport, which we'll be really excited to look into, and then we'll definitely be working on humans in Madison County throughout the rest of the semester, and hopefully that'll culminate in an exhibition in April.
And we're going to keep talking to local businesses about expanding gate card use at like Slices does to other restaurants.
Yeah, so that is the AC.
Question?
What was the first project? Food and dining? What's that about?
What else?
The passport.
Genevieve, would you like to explain it?
Yeah. So there's actually one going on right now all around Madison County. And so it's you go and pick up a pamphlet type thing from I don't know where, and there's little quadrants on it it'll say so the one that they have going on is only 21 and up because there's drinking involved. So it'll have something at maybe the top room, and it'll be oh, 2 for 1, and you go and get it, so you get a deal. And then they give you a stamp, and then once you get the whole thing filled out, you get some type of prize.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought it would be something cool to do just in the Hamilton town restaurants. And yeah, because it'll be discounts, and then people can fill it up and stuff.
Any other questions for the EAC? No. Okay. That's great. That's a really good idea. GAC?
Hi, I'm Kira. You don't already know me, and I'm the chair of the GAC, and Keith has graciously stepped into the role as secretary. So we also just met, so we don't really have a lot going on. But Molly Nelson, who is a part of the cabinet, had reached out to me earlier today, has a project for a GAC, so hopefully we'll get started on that in the near future. Yeah. Any questions?
Thank you, Kira. Okay. And SAC. Yep.
I'm Amarachi. I'm the new chair of the SAC. Technically, I'm co-chairing 5, but not really. And so we don't have any concrete plans that we're working on right now, but we're looking at the projects that were ideas that were gotten from designer suggestions last semester, including getting more menstrual products in tree, which JJ volunteered to start working on. So yeah.
Okay. Great. I think moving forward also when we talk, last Mark, did you have any report from CLC?
Yeah, no.
Oh, I missed Dewey, but Dewey's not here. No, I mean, Dewey's not here, so they're bringing a club, so.
Yeah, no, so despite the terrible weather last week, we were able to get representatives from each council. We don't have anything that's immediately pressing, but every year is working on something. Senior Ball's going on soon. Senior Ball. They're working on career services. Seniors working on career services meetings about finding housing after Colgate, because it's terrible as our res life is, and the world is much worse. Juniors are working on letters abroad and tailgate plans. Sophomores are finalizing their t-shirt sales, and then working on a major declaration event, because that's less than a month away. And then also the first years are working on some kind of event or programming with Dean McLaughlin and potentially a movie night. But if you have any ideas about that, please let me know.
Questions from Mark? Okay, so now is there anyone from the body that would like to speak? Seeing as there is not, I wasn't here last semester. What's the protocol? I just elapsed the time? Yeah, okay, elapsed. All right, so I would like to introduce Drew Harris. He is the director of CLSI. He is also the Senate's advisor. He is someone that puts a lot of work in behind the scenes. He is also a Colgate alum, and so he has a lot, I believe, to offer as a Senate advisor and also just as a CLSI resource. So I will yield the floor.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to come talk. Can't believe it took to my third year as director before I was finally invited after you invited all the brand new directors, but happy to be here. Hopefully I can talk a little bit more about my vision for CLSI, having had the chance to sit back and observe and kind of put some things in motion. I'm really interested in hearing your questions today, so I'm kind of going to go through 3 quick topical areas about what we do in CLSI, who we are, and some notable initiatives, and then I really want to open the floor up to see what you guys want to know about what we do. All right, so here's the really boring stuff. This is our mission and vision. I'm not going to read it to you, but what I really want to stress here is the idea of experiential education is at the very core of everything that we do. We are really here for you. We are here to be your ambassadors through Colgate and to help you take your vision and realize it and make it a reality. So it really comes down to the idea that one of the really special things about Colgate is the opportunity to learn outside of the classroom. I mean, if you really think about it, you're spending 80% of your time here on campus in the middle of nowhere, New York. So the student clubs and organizations really can play a huge factor in your life here. So we really hope that when you're a student leader through SGA or any club, organization, fraternity, sorority, whatever you're getting involved with outside of the classroom, that time is really meaningful for you here as a student. I know it certainly was for me. Quick by the numbers, CLSI, we're a staff of 6. We are very, 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 very busy people. We work with over 170 student organizations that range everything from multicultural organizations to philanthropic organizations, fraternities and sororities, class councils, just about anything you could imagine. In those 170 organizations, we have 994 student leaders. It's a lot of people. We work with 300 events annually. Last year was actually 338 total events that were put on by CLSI organizations. We manage 211 accounts, and included in those 211 accounts is the over $1 million student activity fee. So as you can see, any kind of policy or project we're working on, we really need to be thinking about the breadth of student organizations. So I know it might be really tempting when you come and talk to us that you're focused on your particular student organization or your particular issue you're facing. Please keep in mind that when we're talking about altering things, we're thinking about this huge picture that impacts the entire breadth of our campus. So I also want to really recognize that CLSI is not just me. While I have the joy and privilege of being the face of the department, I have some wonderful people that I work with. And as Eli alluded, my alum, no, there's me 13 years ago, of course. I was the CL in Bunch House. And I want to say that I really never intended to come back to Colgate. It was just kind of one of those funny things, ways of life happens working out. And I'm really privileged and happy to be back here, especially having worked with the senior class this year, Jenny, Abby, and the rest of you. You were the first class that I started at full-time at Colgate as an assistant director of CLSI, so it's really been a privilege to watch you all grow and see what you have been able to do.
What did you major in?
I was a peace studies major, back when it was still peace studies, not peace and conflict studies. So obviously the field has grown up a bit. If any of you were missed majors or minors, I was actually one of the people that helped bring that program to Colgate. So I'm happy to see it flourishing. I don't know if any of you saw Mead Safi's talk during MLK week. He was one of my professors here. He was fantastic. So there's me again, back as a professional staff member. As the director, I get to do a lot of work behind the scenes. So I don't get the chance to come and talk to you, the students, very often. I'm usually the guy in the back of the room helping advise and make sure everything's going smoothly. Kind of just the man behind the curtain, I guess, usually. A lot of the work I do is on strategic planning, working with new group onboarding, advising student government, as Eli introduced me, and kind of working on the assessment projects across the division. And then, let's be honest, if you haven't met Denise yet, you probably haven't been in CLSI. Denise really runs the office. She's the one who manages all of our budgets and accounts, all the work orders that any one of your student organizations put in. She makes sure that everyone has access to EMS, so you can reserve rooms on campus. She advises our philanthropy groups. And as I said, she really runs the office. Edie has also been a wonderful addition to our team. Edie works with the Colgate Speaking Union, a lot of our academic groups, language groups, and political groups on campus. Marcia joined us from the chaplain's office a couple years ago. Marcia works with the Gate Night program. So a quick plug, if you see the posters around campus for the Duct Tape Fashion Show or the Gate Night, or the Capture the Flag After Dark. These are all Gate Night programs. They also are sponsoring trips off campus. So if you ever want to look for a night away, they have trips out to different theater shows around the area and different seasonal events. So just a quick plug there. Marcia also recently started working with Tenosione, a number of our wellness groups, and a lot of our recreation groups. Yeah, I'm not the only alum in our office. Kayla also graduated in 2015, a couple years younger than I am. Kayla's been working with our fraternities and sororities, the dance groups, and our environmental groups. And last but certainly not least, Brett has joined us and is working with Colgate Activities Board, a lot of physical recreation groups, the entertainment groups, and the career services groups, which of course I forgot to put on here. So I also wanted to take a couple of minutes just to talk through some notable initiatives that have changed over the recent years in CLSI. One of the biggest things that we've shifted under my leadership in CLSI is new group onboarding. So what you're seeing here is the criteria for our new student organizations. The general criteria are what we ask in a new student organization, and then we talk about CLSI specifically. We're looking for the professional growth, professional competency, and alignment with our mission. Very different from the years past. We created a probationary period of 1 year for all student organizations. We wanted to really open the idea that students could come to us with an idea. They didn't need to come with a fully formed organization. So we really changed kind of the spectrum of what we've seen come, and we've really seen some really innovative ideas come, like the Aerial Arts Club, which you'll hear about later today. Started really just as a brand new idea of whether we could either explore the idea of whether we could actually bring this to Colgate and what that would take and what that would look like. We've also seen the Archery Club last year, cryptocurrency, and a number of other different initiatives that really have sprung up out of this opportunity just to start with an idea and take a year to really grow into something, into a club or an organization, rather than being expected to walk in the door with something ready to go. Secondly, you might have heard me, Dewey, or some of the other leaders talk about a tiered recognition model. Prior to this year, all recognition through CLSI was one size fits all. We assumed, for better or worse, that every student organization had essentially the same needs and needed the same resources and attention and support. And that really didn't, talking to student leaders, was a lot of feedback that really didn't make sense. So we moved away from that, and we created a tiered system that is really based on the aspirations of the student leaders. We really want you to come tell us what you want to accomplish with your student organizations, what your visions are, and we'll help you find the resources for that. So tier one really is just about, we want to build a book room on campus. We just want to get together and meet and talk about our ideas. To tier five, we want to spend tens of thousands of dollars, change the campus culture, have an impact on the world. We really started with the idea that tier three is really back where that previous one size fits all model was. And so we really, that still is the center point for what we do. We've opened up opportunities for students to have a little bit less requirements and just get together, but also opportunities for the groups that really want to make that change to have the resources and intentionality to do so. And then lastly, I want to talk about our role with SGA and CLSI. So one of the things that we've done differently this year with my staff is we've assigned each of my program coordinators to work with a specific class year. As the commons come on board, we really want to make sure that we're not losing sight of the particular class year experiences that happen through your Colgate tenure as well. So each of my staff are working closely with one of the class councils to think about the seminal moments that are taking place during those years and thinking about how we can best support those initiatives. And I also want to take a moment to talk about the really the unique role that I in particular, but my staff get to play here with you in SGA. As Eli said, I'm your advisor. I'm here for you for any support you need. Anything you want to talk through, any initiatives you want to start, I'm here to help you kind of think through what that would take on Colgate's campus, what resources are available, what opportunities exist. And if those don't exist, where can we create them? We also are your partners. We work with, as I said, 170 student organizations that are coming to the BAC for money, are coming to SGA for access to those funds, and are deeply impacted by the policies that you're creating in this space. So we are just as much consumers in a way of the work that you're doing here in SGA as we are your advisors. And I think also important, we're your advocates. We have access sometimes to rooms that you as students you don't have access to. And it's our job to make sure that in those rooms that we're fighting for your voice and for your voice to be heard, or trying to get you access to those rooms. And then I wanted to close with a plea for help with Get Involved. So one thing we've done differently with Get Involved this year is we've rolled out the event form. So a lot of students come to CLSI or the administrative deans or just different departments around campus, and they're really looking for how to get involved on campus. There's a reason we call it the platform Get Involved. So we've opened up the event form for groups and student departments to advertise their events that are coming up. This is a great way to post club meetings, upcoming events that you want students to see. We're eventually going to have this linked to the campus calendar, so it's a one-stop shop. You can just put it here. The details will pass on to the campus calendar. This is a great opportunity, so please share with your friends. Any clubs that are looking to recruit members, please encourage people to use this form. This is what it looks like currently. You can see there's a lot of our leadership workshops on there. I'd really like those to be separated out by more student events. And then the absolute last thing I want to talk about, we just rolled out a new program with Get Involved called the Event Check-In app. So perhaps the only meeting in history, I'm going to ask you all to pull out your phones as well and download this app, or not the app, just download the event piece. So if you all go to getinvolved.colgate.edu and sign in. And once you're logged in, you'll see your initials or a picture up in the top right corner. And at the first thing in that list should be the event pass. You can download that to Apple Pay or to Google Pay, your wallet. This is a unique QR code for each of you. We're going to start using this for major events for check-in purposes, rather than asking people to carry gate cards or trying to use other unique identifiers. So I would also ask that you help us spread the word on this. This is a new module that we are paying Campus Labs for, and I think it could really make a difference for student organizations to start using this to track attendance. And then they're working on different assessment mechanisms that we could send out push notifications in the future and get a quick assessment back on how successful events were. JJ?
Would you consider implementing this at the gym if you forget your gate card, or like signing in for passport classes?
I think that's something that I'd be happy to talk with other departments about if they want to. So if you would like to make a connection, I'm happy to talk about it.
Okay, yeah.
All right, that's all I've got, so I'm going to open up the floor to whoever wants to ask a question.
Another question on this event pass.
Yep.
The idea of implementing it into orientation, where first-year students that would want to go to an event sponsored or whatever, there's like a bunch of those during orientation, making them download this so that we can begin.
I think we're going to make the entire first-year class download it next year.
Okay.
Either all once in the chapel or else have the links to it with their groups. I think this could really make a difference for our event management purposes, and we just need your help in spreading the word.
Could you elaborate a bit on what differentiates the different tiers?
Sure. It's really meant to be about aspirations where the group wants to be. There is a funding component as kind of a cap. We haven't come up with really great names for the tiers, so if anyone has any brilliant ideas, I'm open to them. But the idea of Tier 1 is really meant to be really around interest groups that want to gather around a specific topic. Tier 2 is really meant to be about kind of more clubs that need some money to explore that particular interest or topic. So Maybe a gaming club needs to buy board games or something like that. There's just groups that are looking for purchases or doing local trips. Kind of the tier 3 is really where the previous one-size-fits-all model was. That was kind of the bulk of our student organizations. You imagine a bell curve where groups are doing local travel events, they're doing brown bags, they're doing just kind of ordinary group business. And at that level, that's where we start to kick in with the leadership requirements. We do ask tier 3 organizations to do 3 of the 8 leadership requirements each semester. Tier 4 are really groups that are starting to make an impact and to develop a historical presence here on campus, where we've added a component for group development trainings for tier 4, where we're helping to develop the future. We're hoping that we're developing the future leaders or the interests of the club. So we're asking these trainings to be either about a particular interest. So photography club, for instance, brought a professional photographer back to help them be better photographers, while Brothers and Sword and another number of other multicultural organizations went and worked with Career Services on a training called DISC, which is all about leadership styles, which will help them become better leaders. And then the tier 5 organizations, where their funding opportunities are really uncapped, we ask that they are working with an advisor who's very passionate and knowledgeable about a particular subject area of that club. With 170 organizations, we really can't be experts in everything that our clubs are doing. So we're really asking that if clubs are looking to do really majorly impactful things, that they have someone helping them make sure that that's a good idea. I always use the example of physics club. I'm not actually sure what tier physics club is, but I don't know the first thing about physics. So if they came to me and said, we want to bring this speaker to campus, I would say, sure, that sounds like a great idea. But I would really need to depend on my colleagues in the physics department to say, all right, this is a reputable speaker, this is someone we should be bringing to campus, or maybe this individual is not what we should be investing in.
As someone who's not very good at using technology of the internet, what do I do to add something to the events page thing
Sure.
that's not on the Colgate calendar? Because like Planned Parenthood, for instance, we're having like a movie screening of RPG coming up. That'd be like a really good thing.
That would be great. So first you have to go to the Planned Parenthood page, and then into the under Manage, which is the leader, you should have a button on the top right hand side that says Manage. Once you click it, you're in the Manage section, there should be a drop down on the left where Events is one of the options, and that'll just walk you through creating a new event. Sure. Ryan?
Are there other advantages other than access to more funding from different tiers?
I think that's one of the things we're really working on. I think it's opportunities for training as well, and intentionality. I think a lot of what we've heard from a lot of the higher tier groups is the desire to have access to campus partners in career services and other resources that we've made available. For instance, the training that a lot of the multicultural groups went through was paid for by a gift fund through career services. And that was an opportunity that was made available to them as tier 5 organizations that wanted to partner with different campus partners to be successful in ways they had not previously been so.
Like as a follow-up to that, is the funding like a hard cap in the different tiers? So say you're like a physics club and one time you buy this great speaker that costs a lot of money, but you would have to be like the next tier to pay for it one time. Would you have to like go and do that, or is there like an exception?
It's meant to be an annual recertification, so it's the idea that it depends really on what the leaders aspire to do for that semester or for that year. So we really hope that if your physics club historically is a tier 3 organization, but you're targeting, you plan to bring a speaker later in the year, and that you want to do that, the goal is for you to make that move to a tier 4 for that year. Exceptions do happen, but we are really trying to create a system that by and large gets us away from those one-time exceptions. But if there's specific circumstances that warrant it, I'm happy to talk about those opportunities. We certainly don't want anyone to say no to an opportunity simply because they signed up for a lower tier than and they have an opportunity that comes up. So I think the concern more is less about groups moving up a tier, but more about groups moving down a tier, and trying to game the system by not meeting requirements or not going through meeting the high expectations we have for our student organizations, and still trying to take advantage of tremendous amounts of resources.
Is there a minimum number of members you need to have to move to upper tier?
There is not. Not minimum number of members, there's a minimum number of student leaders. So tier 1 organizations, we really only require 1 leader. Tier 2, we require 2 leaders. Tiers 3 and above, we require at least 4 leaders.
And also one other question, so
Sure.
like many people ask me, what's the process to create a new club? Like,
Very good question. So to create a new club, it's very simple. All you do is go on Get Involved. There's actually a link on the homepage of Get Involved that says, before you register a club, check out the list of all of our clubs, because one of the criteria that's on the list is uniqueness. If you still want to create a club, there's another link that takes you to the registration page, where you can either re-register an active organization or you can register a new club. And like I said, the goal really is that we want you to come to us with an idea, and we will help you over the course of that year to turn that idea into an actual organization.
On the Get Involved, there are certain clubs which are not so active, but they're still there. So have you thought of like doing anything about it? Like either to make them active or not make them there?
So there are clubs that may look inactive on Get Involved. That simply means that going back to this page, they are still active organizations. They're just not active on Get Involved. So I would highly encourage you, I'm happy to put you in touch with the student leaders if you'd like to encourage them to be more present on Get Involved and remind them that you might be interested in joining their club if they were more present on Get Involved. I think that would be a great reminder. Any other questions?
Can I ask, seeing that you get the pleasure of sitting in the back and listening to us all these years, what would be your advice as to what the Senate could do better and some concrete ideas that would help us as we begin this semester?
Sure. As to what you can do better, I really would encourage you all to be present in this space. I know it's tough to be here for an hour or two on a Tuesday night, but this is a really great opportunity for you as student leaders to make an impact and really create the campus community you want to see here at Colgate. Having had a chance to be a student here at Colgate myself and then work at a couple other institutions before I came back, I will tell you that this experience you have here at Colgate is absolutely unique and that I've seen in higher education. I certainly took it for granted as a student. I just assumed that it was the way everyone's college experience was, and it's really not. So really try to find it in yourselves to be present and to really be intentional and thoughtful about the work you're doing in this space. For concrete work steps to do, I would love to see this group be more representative of the student body. I would love to see more work done to connect back to your peers outside of this room and really think about what their needs are, especially as you're voting on different legislation pieces and thinking about what action items you're taking up. And then also to think through what the action plans are for implementing what you're doing. I think I've talked with a number of you in this room about the difference between a resolution and a bill. And a resolution oftentimes is a call for action for someone else to do something. And there certainly is a time and a place for a resolution. It's those things that's for those items that you as students can't directly impact. But I would highly encourage you to not shy away from taking up the work to really transform this campus into what you want to see. That it's one thing to just pass a resolution calling for someone else to do it, but it's something else entirely to pass a bill allocating student resources, whether it's funding or man hours or any other resources that you have available to yourself as students, where you're willing to do the work and meet us as administrators, as campus partners to create a better Colgate. All right, I will give you back the floor.
Great, thanks, Drew.
Thanks for having me.
So just before we move on, obviously now you have a face to the name. Drew is, while very busy, a great resource. And you might not like that I say this, but please feel free to email him. I'm sure he's inundated with emails. But if you have a project idea, something that would directly pertain to CLSI, or even just trying to get someone else's advice who has more of a concrete job than I do, I think that he's a very valuable and sometimes underutilized resource. So it was great to have him introduce himself today. Are the members from the Aerial Arts Club, do you want to come down? So for the new members, for people who are new to Senate, one of our responsibilities is to vet new student organizations who aspire to become recognized clubs. So today we are going to hear from the Aerial Arts Club, and I will put up their constitution.
Do you have a PowerPoint also?
I do not have.
Okay.
Is that something that you want to access?
If I could.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, do we send you again?
Well, I'll show you what he sent me, and then maybe it was. Either the meetings are not PowerPoints, but he sent me this. But you have PowerPoint.
My laptop?
No, I can.
It's saved in my laptop.
Okay. Okay. All right. Doesn't have an HDMI. Great.
Hello, my name is Julianne Cheatham, and I'm here representing the Colgate Aerial Arts Club. So basically, aerial arts are anything you think of when you think of like in the air circus stuff. Like trapeze is an aerial art. Lira, which is the big hoop that you do tricks in, that's an aerial art. What we are hoping to do, if we get approved for this semester, is to do aerial silks, which is what my co-leader C is doing right here. Aerial silks is sort of a activity where you climb and do tricks on a piece of fabric that's suspended. It's folded in half, so you have more sort of leverage to do things. This is an aerial silk that is knotted up for storage, but you can see that that's what it looks like, and that's what it is sort of folded in half. In terms of vision for what this club could be, I really, really want to be able to provide like a really inclusive, encouraging space for members to learn this particular skill. It's kind of hard. It's a lot of fun, but it's kind of hard. I think it's really important to have just a really supportive community. Another, I think, really important thing that this club could be is to provide like a non-competitive, non-performance-based outlet for artistic expression, because we have so many dance groups on campus, which is amazing. I'm in a couple of them. I love it. But a lot of them are either auditioned or you're kind of expected to do dance fest. And so I wanted to provide something that would still kind of fulfill the same idea, but you wouldn't have sort of that expectation, or not really a requirement, but sort of the expectation that you would be performing in dance fest. In terms of contribution to the Colgate community, it is a wonderful form of exercise. Cardio, strength training is just really, really healthy. I know we have a lot of different opportunities for that here, but we really don't have anything like this. I think this is really unique in that aspect. It also is really great at developing spatial awareness. I cannot tell you the number of times that I have gotten myself fully tangled up in the silk and had to figure out how to get myself undone. And this is, I'm partially joking on this, but it really teaches you your left and right. Like, that's something you really, really need to know, and you will know by the time you finish. I think it would be really fantastic stress relief. It always was for me in high school when I practiced this. And then again, there are safe artistic space that I'm really hoping that we'd be able to foster. In terms of interest and support for the club, we had tables at the Coop a little bit, like 2 days I think, last semester. And I put out a message on the freshman and sophomore Facebook pages just to kind of see if people were interested, not promising anything, but just to see if people were interested. And then I tabled at the Club Fair on Friday. And we have, I think almost 60 members, like potential members on our email list, people that have expressed interest. I've had a lot of people reach out to me and just say that they heard about it from a friend and they wanted to get on our list because it sounded really cool. And then in the fall, there was, I was radio silent for a while. I didn't send out any emails because I just didn't have any new information to get to people, and it seemed a little superfluous. But I had, I think, at least 2 people reach out to me out of the blue and just be like, oh, I really, really want this to happen. Is there anything I can do to help get this started? So that was just really cool, and I think a lot of people would benefit from this club if we were able to get it started. In terms of goals and sort of the plans and hopes that we really want, we're hoping to meet twice monthly. One of those meetings would be like stretching and conditioning and practicing flexibility exercises, and that would hopefully be held in Huntington, although I'm not certain about times. And then the other time we would go drive to Ithaca, which is a little bit of a hike, but that's the closest place that offers something like this, Circus Culture in Ithaca. And I have spoken with the director and the owner of Circus Culture, and we sort of discussed back and forth what sort of opportunities there were for us there and sort of financial propositions. And she is willing to, if we were able to start this, to give us an hour-long lesson on Friday afternoons for up to 12 members for a very, very steep discount. She normally charges, I think, $215 for that size of a group for that amount of time. And because she really wants to help us get started, because this is how she got started. She started her own aerial club in her college. She said you could come and she would charge us $123. So it's a very, very steep discount, so we're very grateful. And then we're currently hoping to meet in like the late afternoons, early evenings on Fridays, because that's the time that I think a lot of people are free, and it would be very beneficial to have all that big chunk of time before everything gets started for the weekend to be able to drive to Ithaca. I'm currently in the process of getting a van license, just in case, and then we would hopefully rent a Colgate van for our trips. In terms of budget, I'm sorry, it's really small. So the van rental, we're applying as for recognition as a Tier 2 organization, and our total budget that we have divided right now would reach to $997.20. So the van rental for our 4 trips that we're planning would come up to $200 as a total, because it's $50 a day, and then we have the mileage costs, which comes up to $305.20. And then the cost of all the lessons total would be $492. You might be wondering why we're going out of our way to go do a trip, because that might seem more expensive. And in the long run, in terms of several years, that would be more expensive. But as we're just starting out and we're seeking to be fiscally responsible, it makes much more sense to go and instead of buying all the equipment and having it installed, because we'd have to do construction on wherever we are going to have it installed, and then buying the mats and bringing it to storage, it makes much more sense, at least initially, to go somewhere else, because we don't know what sort of interest there is for the club, and we don't know how it will be received exactly. So it makes much more sense to actually go to a different off-site location. So that is all I have. Do you all have any questions? I'd love to answer them. Yeah.
How will we decide which 12 students go to service watching?
We're going to send out probably a Google form, like a sign-up sheet, and it'll just be first come, first served. Yes.
And what year are you
I'm a sophomore.
Okay. And your co-person?
She's also a sophomore. So we're going abroad at different times. Yes.
Just a clarification. This is for the entire semester, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yes.
When you were polling people for interest, did you tell them that they were going to have to drive to Ithaca?
For the first tabling in the fall, when we first kind of established some of the ideas, we were planning on doing it here at Colgate, but then there were issues with liability, and it was just going to be a lot more work than we had intended originally. So in the beginning, in the fall, I told people that we were going to do it here. Since we figured out we were going to have to drive, I've been telling people that's what we would probably be doing, and it's still been pretty well received.
Any other questions? Okay, so can I ask you to step outside and we will discuss? Yeah, sure. Or you can leave it because we'll come and get you. It's up to you. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so Dewey's not here. I have a question for other SOC members. Did y'all meet and discuss this? Are you in the SOC?
Yeah, I'm the secretary.
Okay, great.
I can say something. Hi.
Great.
So, you don't know me. I'm Elle. I'm the secretary. Then Dewey can come. I kind of come and say like what he would have said. So basically, I'm like, we both like met.
When she comes in, we can congratulate her. Congratulations. Aerial Arts is now an official club.
Thank you. Thank you guys.
Okay, so a little bit of housekeeping. As speaker, it's my responsibility to appoint a transparency liaison. So Laksha, do you want to come to the front? I will be appointing Laksha to the position of transparency liaison. Basically, the main responsibility is to manage the voting in Senate. So this will have to do with setting up the clickers, which we'll be using from now on, now that we hopefully have a confirmed appointment, and also relaying the vote totals so that they may be posted on the SGA website, hence the title, Transparency Liaison. So when this position was established, it was by appointment by the speaker and by 2/3 vote. So I asked Laksha to write a brief statement, but if any of you have any questions, otherwise I'm very confident in his ability to fill the role. Or if you want to say a few words, obviously.
Alright, so I think that it's really important to have transparency in the Senate because of the decisions we make. So, like, I guess I've live up to this role, and if you have any questions, you can ask me.
Okay, no questions? Okay, great. So I'll ask you to step outside, please. And we'll also do this by hand. So all in favor, oh sorry, do I see any motions? Yes, motion vote, seconded. Great. Any other motions? Seeing none. Okay, moving right along. I just wanted to do, yeah. Okay, so, yeah. So next week we'll have clickers, we won't have to do the hand voting, and everything will go on the website, just great. Okay, for new senators, you've already seen this, and I'm not going to belabor this and do a long thing, but I do think that we should just talk about one quick thing, difference between bill and resolution, which Drew talked about briefly. So a bill, okay, so this is something that's concrete. We're changing something specifically. It's something that we have the power to enumerate what is going to happen. Once the Senate signs a bill, it is, it is done. Like it is something that we have the authority to do. So I won't go through all the nitty-gritty of it, but I do want to look at what it looks like. Okay, so if you've never seen this template before, this is something you can copy and paste. Writing a bill seems really scary at first, I suppose, but it's really not. Put your committee. Ideally, you'll probably be writing it alongside other senators. And then you really just say in the top, these preamble section is you say, I would like to have Crocs for all senators. Why? Because Crocs are important and they're very fashionable and it would benefit the mental well-being of the student body. And then underneath in these sections, you would say what action specifically would be taken to have this. So you'd say the Student Activity Fund will allocate X amount of money for Crocs for all students. This will be gone through every semester by the Government Affairs Committee. It will be their responsibility to oversee this. And by the way, no neon green Crocs will be allowed. Okay, and then you bring it to the floor, you say, hi, I'm Eli Cousin, and I would like to present my bill for why everyone should have Crocs. Presumably, this would be voted down because it's highly fiscally irresponsible, but you never know, and that's the process of a bill. Okay, now a resolution is something that, as Drew was saying, is something that you are asking or pushing someone else outside of this body to do. So in the past, we've had resolutions addressed to Dean McLaughlin as Dean of the College. We've had resolutions directed to the presidency, the Office of the President, Shaw Wellness Center. And what you might say in a resolution is something that us specifically can't control, but as a body, we've discussed and decided that it's something that we want to happen. So last semester, or the previous year, our Secretary of Campus Affairs, Chris Johns, he wanted to see more members of color working in the counseling office. It was a very great idea. He went about it by talking to the counseling office. He talked to people in the administration who could discuss whether there was enough money to do this plan, whether there was enough resources already or if there was merit. And so he went about doing this whole process, and he brought a resolution, and he said, this is how it's going to happen, but as a Senate, it's not something we can do. The Senate does not have the power to say, we want to hire a president, officer of the president, someone who can oversee broadcasting. We can't just make different kinds of positions. There are certain things that we just can't do. So that's when the resolution comes in. So that's what I'm trying to stress. And the resolution looks, voila, pretty much exactly the same as the bill, but obviously it's going about it in a different way, whereas you're saying we would like to establish a faculty member who is known as Mr. and Mrs. or Mrs. Croc. This is something that we don't have the actual ability to do. Okay, sorry for this heinous analogy. All right, are there any questions about that? No, great. Glad I was able to run through that quickly. I think it's really important. The one thing I'll say about resolutions is if you're going to bring a resolution, we expect that you've done the groundwork. Something like what Chris did, he spent a lot of time talking to the counseling office, talking to students to make sure that this was a feasible plan, something that other people wanted. You could have the best idea in the world, but if you don't talk to the people in charge, the people who actually have the authority, it doesn't make sense for you to bring the idea, because we could pass it and it could be a great idea and put it on their desk, and they will say, well, I never heard about this, why didn't you come see me about this? I could have talked to you about how we could do it this way or that way. So are there any questions about that? No. Great, that's great. Okay, so for the last bit of the evening, I would like to spend maybe 10, 15 minutes, or however much we can, to just talk about some of the things that we talked about last week, because I think it's important that they don't just go into the void. So, I would like to do another, getting people up and active activity, because I think that worked really well last meeting. So, if everyone could just meet, why don't you get with your committee really quickly in one area of the room. The quicker you get assembled, the quicker we can start talking about these ideas. Is it really hot in this room?
It's very,
really hot.
I know. I had to pop the sweater off. We should turn it down 5 degrees.
Just that.
Complete side note, but I forgot about it. So you might want to get some of your graduates now. I did graduates last year in the last 3 weeks, and it was the most stressful last 3 weeks of my life, and it cost more money to expression.
Will you tell Kira that? If not, I can tell her after. Kira, grad chords, will you make a note about, I can talk to you. Perfect. Okay, all right, now that you're all with your committees, all right, so a little exercise that, all right, listen please. A little exercise, first of all, if everyone could make sure they could see the board, that'd be great. A little exercise that Lucy and I did when we were looking over this list was trying to figure out which committee would be best for which project. But I also want to stress the fact that if you're in a particular committee, that doesn't mean that you can't work on a project that maybe doesn't seem like it has the purview of your committee. So the first project, tailgating, we thought that the SAC might be the best fit for that. So I was wondering if any members of the SAC might want to throw out, or anyone really, throw out some possible objectives of it, but more importantly, action steps. So who wants to throw something out? Or more maybe to clarify what it is that we want to do, we could start with the objectives. Anyone?
Did they do it last semester, like tailgate for women's sports?
Okay, right.
The
So,
last semester thing?
So the SGA has allocated, correct me if I'm wrong, $10,000 for women's or non-binary sports tailgates. Is that correct?
It's $5,000.
$5,000. Have we used any of that this semester?
No.
Right. Okay. So, that is an objective is to use the $5,000.
Not really, because we don't have that much money.
To use some amount of dollars for, I'm sorry if I'm trampling over things that I don't know about, for women's or non-binary. Okay, you get the idea. All right, so SAC, speaking to you specifically, what are some ways that we can accomplish this goal?
Reaching out to the women's sports team.
That is a great first idea. What else? It's like one of those old-fashioned people.
Checking the home schedules. Finding out if they have game on the same weekend. I don't know.
Yeah, these are great. These are great.
And then their voices are appreciated.
Okay, and then how about reaching out to local, this is where the EAC maybe could come in, like local proprieties and saying, would you want to provide this kind of food for a tailgate?
Yeah, we do that.
Yeah? Yeah? Yep. Anything else? Anything else? No, okay, that's fine. That's fine. Let's just get the ball rolling. Okay, so maybe in the EAC meeting you can talk about that last part, and in the SAC meeting you could talk about some of the first part. I think it's relatively easy to reach out and look at the schedules of the women's or non-binary sports teams. So that's just something to keep in mind. We have that money. That's money that is ours, and we oversee it, so let's use it. And maybe Jenny will be able to give us a more concrete number, but that doesn't really matter at the moment. Okay, icing issues. This is definitely more relevant last week, but I promise you it's going to be relevant again, sadly. Who has any ideas on this?
Is it just like ice on campus?
Yeah. So, okay, yeah. So how can we make it better? Because raise your hand if you or a close one has fallen victim to ice. Okay, wow, that was, okay. I meant ice on the ground, sorry. Sorry, I apologize. Sorry. Sorry, I'm actually sorry. I didn't mean that, all right, we're moving on. All right. Okay, all right, yes, okay, icing. So, and not Smirnoff icing. Ha, okay, I'm on a roll. I'll stop. Okay, somebody else speak. Objectives and solutions, please. Yeah, winters.
Ice is like not our job.
That's what you say until you get caught. You don't say that until you get caught, bro.
I don't know if I spelled that, but all right. So he's coming to Senate. Abby's not here, but Abby's communicating with him. He's here. Oh, hi, Abby. How are you doing on this Friday? Next Tuesday he's coming. So maybe a committee. What committee would be good for this? Perhaps student affairs, because it directly affects the students. Maybe you could talk about what kind of solutions you might want to see if Dan would be receptive to. Because you're right, it's not our problem to go out and ice the sidewalks, but there is a problem, and we could do something to promote a solution. Okay, we'll skip this, or does anyone else want to talk more about this? I know Chris, yeah, Kate.
Okay, quick aside. In terms of like, this relates back to the cruisers, but especially from the apartments, there's like a skating rink essentially, or there was a skating rink on the sidewalks. And I know that's the town's property, I'm assuming.
Okay.
And I don't know if EAC, like, I don't know if that comes out of their town budget or whatever. I don't know if you can ice sidewalks, like obviously like, it's not that feasible. And I know upstate New York has been using dirt rather than ice for cost reasons recently, which is why all cars are brown. But I don't know if that's a thing that can happen that would make like walking to class more incentive, like they would give more incentive to walk to class.
I like it. Okay.
Something else to say.
Yeah.
Weekend cleaning. They don't plow on the weekends. It's kind of annoying.
Okay, so that's another, wow. That's another EAC, oh my goodness. That's another EAC thing that, sorry to overload the SAC and the EAC, but those are good ideas. Anything else on that? Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna also add on, like, I think a good situation for us would be to write like a formal acknowledgement of the condition, so like students know that like SGA actually like is paying attention to like what's happening, and then like take the appropriate actions, or like let them know that like we're all thinking about it and talking about it.
I think that would be good after we speak to Dan and say that we met with him and that we're having a dialogue with him. I think we should wait until after we speak with him, but then I think that is a really good idea.
And maybe that's a GAC initiative, perhaps. Wow. Okay, anything from mental health? I know that Chris, did you want to maybe say a little more about it? Or?
Yeah, so I'm actually meeting with Shaw Wellness Center tomorrow to work on bringing a speaker. I have this guy in mind, he's a sponsored physique competition guy, he's a personal trainer now, and he like deals with a lot of, he talks about orthorexia, which is like the unhealthy obsession of healthy eating, if that makes sense. So it's kind of something that I think that, so it's like during National Eating Disorder Week, and it's kind of like if you take another angle at looking at eating disorders, it's not just like conventional anorexia. So,
yeah. Do you need any help, any ways that the SGA or Senate could get involved?
Well, for the entire week, we kind of like me and Jenny like discussed like other projects to do, like body projects. And maybe like making like a video where people could like send in like a letter to like their former self about like what they wish they knew, something like that. So like if anyone wants to like help me think of project ideas for Eating Disorder Week.
Yeah. Okay, Chris, what committee are you on?
AAC.
Okay. So this is a good example. No, this is good. This is a good example of something that might not normally fall under the purview of AAC, but Chris has taken the initiative to say this is something that I'm passionate about. This is something that I know I can do something with, and I'm going to do it outside of the purview of my committee. So I would like to commend Chris for doing that, and I would recommend you consider ways that you can help the under committee as well. So thank you, Chris, in advance for that. Any other things that we should know about for mental health or National Eating Disorder Week? Or if not, we can always revisit. Jenny?
It's not necessarily about Eating Disorder Week, but I just got a text from Kate Bessie, who's the positive sexuality liaison in the cabinet, and as you're probably all aware, the Heath sexual assault survey went out today, which definitely like has people feeling like some sort of way. So maybe like later this month or next month when the results come out, doing something like acknowledging the fact that like it might be a hard day for people and having like open hours in Haven and like getting like food and like supporting people in that way.
Great, great. Okay, and also promoting people to take the survey if they're able and willing and comfortable to do so, I think would be important. Okay, polling. I know this was your brainchild. Did you want to have any comment on it?
I think my first steps are going to be to talk with you guys maybe like next week and present different ideas I have for like potential polling mediums and see like based off your guys' poll, like which poll you guys like. So it's like a poll. And then, you know, I think it's going to be like pretty much this entire project is like with dealing with technology. So I guess like if you like know technology somewhat well, like this seems like something of interest, like we should probably talk. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Great, great. Anyone else want to jump in on that or add anything? Okay, so why don't you talk to me after we talk about maybe being on the agenda next week or something like that. Okay, Res Life. What are people's ideas on this? This is a big one. I feel like we can throw out a lot of things here.
We could talk to them and like create something that they're more flexible students. For example, like according to Res Life policy, you aren't allowed to move furniture at all, especially when you're in a suite or a double. But I think that's really inconvenient sometimes because of the size of the room. So, you know, talk to them of altering the policies and be more communicating to the students so that there's more flexibility.
I also think, well, transparency just across the board, but especially like as a first year, I had no idea what my room looked like, and I had no idea what furniture would fit or what, like, measurements, anything. So maybe just like a picture of the room or more specifics, because they don't give you a whole lot of information.
I do on the website as well.
Yeah.
Like updating that information.
Do we know if they have stock images or maybe they just...
I couldn't like
They have all the floor plans. They won't reveal them to us. Like they'll only show you the floor plan.
Okay, so this is great. I mean, I'm standing here, I'm thinking this is a great idea. So let's talk about even more concrete action plans. So how can we get that? What is that? Do we want to talk to someone in Res Life? Any ideas? Yeah, I'm seeing hands. Yeah.
One of the things on my side of suggestions is someone suggested that they create a focus group with like people from Res Life and then like people from different years at Colgate and like live in different parts of like the campus to like kind of talk about like the issues with where we live specifically and things that they have problems with like throughout Colgate and things like that. I don't know.
Okay. All right, that's another good idea. I want to also go zero it back into like what we can do in the next like week or two or however long it's going to take. Yeah.
We have Res Life coming before us at some point, correct? Or both?
Yeah, we're working on that.
Okay, so maybe just having like them come forward maybe each semester, like I'm not sure that's already like an unwritten rule about having them come forward, but just to keep like the accountability up.
Okay, I think that's important, but I also would push back a little bit and say that we shouldn't wait for them to come to us. Maybe we could go to them. Jenny, Jenny.
Yeah, we made, so part of like the thing that Jen and I did this year was like release the Res Life survey to everyone, but I'm just realizing now like we never heard back about results. So like demanding those results and like talking about them as a group and like asking people like what they think of the numbers and moving from there too.
Okay, can I ask you, put you on the spot?
Yeah.
Would you be willing to email them and ask them to release the survey results?
Sure.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. Would anyone like to take the initiative or be interested in potentially asking Res Life for a one-on-one meeting? You could go with the group and see if they would be receptive to posting floor plans. Okay, all right, can y'all maybe meet or talk after this meeting? I think that's really great. I really like that idea. Okay, I'll keep it moving, but yeah, go ahead.
So, quick comment about the floor plans. I think the reason that they don't release them is to prevent, it's like a safety precaution, to prevent like a shooting or something like that. So I don't know how you could manage like getting that kind of information
Well, I
out
feel
there.
like you can still show like, I don't know, having a clear depiction of what like the rooms look like and what like suite configurations are like and whatnot, like without like being like this is exactly how you would enter the building and like go, like I feel like there's ways around that. I feel like getting something to discuss.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure that they do have reasons, and so that's another way, good reason to talk to them and just hear the back and forth on that. Okay, any other Res Life comments? Okay, no, book exchange, yeah, I mean, I think that hopefully the buy-sell will work, but that's one of those things that if we want it to work, if you would like to see a space to sell and exchange things, we have to all kind of invite our friends and make it work, so I won't plug that anymore. Any comments on registration?
What is this registration for?
So this would be course registration, presumably. I don't know if people have particular gripes or particular things they would like to see changed. If not, we can revisit it at a later date. I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but whoever may have brought up registration last week, was there anyone in particular that wanted to say something specific?
That was our group, but I mean, it's not like the most ideal situation just in terms of like course preference based on your last name, but I have absolutely no idea how you go about changing it, so I think it might just be a bigger problem for maybe a later date or if anyone else has any ideas, but we couldn't come up with anything last week.
Does anyone have any ideas?
I mean, maybe making it easier to pre-register for courses that maybe aren't in your major or something. If there's a course you're really interested in taking and you're like, you know, a junior or senior, and like trying to make it easier for people to get, like I know it's been hard for like, or even for courses in your major, sometimes it can be hard to pre-register.
Kate?
That happens, that's like pretty much departmental based, but I mean like there's always like, it's worth talking to professors about it. But I mean AAC, I feel like we could take up this kind of project, and I think like, I don't know, most people who went abroad would probably feel that like abroad course registration is like the most stressful thing ever, and like that they don't, obviously like you have to do the time that is assigned to you, which is like sucks when you're in like, when everyone's in different time zones. So that could be like a discussion to have with the registrar that I think could be like an easy one-on-one conversation about like the registrar's office, like about how to make that like easier process for everyone.
Okay, I would love to hear about if the AAC could discuss that more in their meeting.
This is kind of unrelated, but kind of related. When people are trying to put like relevant coursework on their resume or wherever, I found, and I've heard that other people have found, that a lot of the course names Colgate chooses are like ridiculous and dumb, and I don't want them on my resume, even though they're like legitimate cool classes that I want to talk about.
Is it possible to get an example? I don't know if I have a
There was
spot.
one like, do other people not feel like this?
Molecules of the world.
I took one class that was called like Caves to Cathedrals, and it's just been art history.
Okay, okay. So maybe like, if you could get approved to change the name on your.
Yeah, I mean I'm grad writing, so whatever.
Okay, no, okay, but that's fine. Okay, yeah.
So I know that like when you're registering for classes and like the courses like run out of seats really quickly, you have to click each class to see how many seats. I think that would be cool like if in list view it shows like how many remaining seats, you don't have to waste time like clicking on every class to like see it just for it to change. So.
Or also for people who are like, add on to that, if you're searching for a class that's open after you just drop one, maybe you can search like classes open spots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, that's really good if you want to also tackle that in AAC. I definitely think that they've made registration a little better, but I think that these kind of like, I won't say aesthetic, but things that could be different on the actual page are really good ideas. What was that last one? Sorry.
Just being able to search classes that are still open after registration.
Got it. Okay, Luke, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, we just read 20 government or like academic affairs board applications, and pretty much all of them said like one of their priorities was fixing registration. So it seems like a pretty universal like gripe that students have. So it might be worth like putting out a survey to see like specifically what students would be interested in changing and like what issues they have with it. Because I think like a lot of people would have things to say. So, I mean, I'd be happy to work with AAC to do something like that.
Okay, great. All right, a couple more on here. Coop hours. Anyone have thoughts on this?
Like the hours it's open?
yeah, I believe last meeting someone wanted to see the coop open a little longer,
Well,
or
doesn't this run into the issue that we had at the library a little while back, that it's about like the labor
Staffing.
and staffing and like
Mhm.
the hours that people get paid for that?
okay, yeah. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of issues with it. Yeah,
Can we at least get the computer lab and the coop open like 24/7 or something?
I like that. I like that. We can definitely talk about that. I don't know. Who would we talk to? ITS? Who over Jenny?
Well, you're just whispering in my ear that you should talk to him.
Coop needs, coop needs, if anyone wants to talk about the coop, let me know. I have plans.
Could you remind me your name? Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, Kobe?
Kobe.
Grant?
Yes. Okay. Do you have any interest in discussing that with Drew after? Okay, great. Now we're really moving here. Okay. Any other things on that? That seems like a very reasonable and good idea. I like that idea. Okay. SJ Service Projects. Luke, did you want to maybe touch on this at all?
Yeah, so basically we reached out to Melissa from the Hamilton Coalition. She's totally on board and is willing to work with us and give us service projects that we can work with. There's a breakfast coming up soon with Jenny and her and I, so there we'll touch base with her and see what she has for us and go from there.
Okay.
So I'm envisioning it happening in like April when the weather's nice and we can be outside and so forth.
Good. Yeah, so I'll touch on that a little more. As, student leaders, I feel like it would be good if we pursued at least a little more community service than we already do. And so hopefully we'll be able to organize a group project that we can all take part in. Kira.
Yeah, I also had spoken to Luke about this because I think that this is something that's really important. And like right now, I'm pretty sure we're all required to go to like the SPW cleanup. That kind of replaced an old service requirement. So maybe like changing that back, because a lot of people didn't show up to SPW cleanup, but like having like multiple opportunities throughout both semesters for people to get in volunteer hours, that would be a part of your goal as a semester.
Great. I like that. Yeah.
Same for the SOC, we like talk to different like groups, like really ones with like code, and we try to find like projects for us to get like either like co-sponsor or to get people like promoting and signing up for them.
I like that a lot. Yeah. Would you be willing to bring that up in your meeting?
Of course.
That's great. Okay. Jimmy?
I just have a question.
Yeah.
Kira mentioned the SPW cleanup. Are Greek letter organizations do they also have like a version of the SPW cleanup? Or is it just the SPW?
We just wrote the bill because it was like something that we had kind of like, it was like an expectation, but it wasn't like a rule that you had to go or something like that. Prior to that, I don't really remember. I was like kind of part of it.
There was like a day of service that existed separately from the cleanup, and so we eliminated the day of service and had the cleanup replace it. But then nobody went to the cleanup.
But the first cleanup, lots of people went to. It was actually very successful.
Yeah, it depended on the weather because our first year it was beautiful. Yeah. Last year it was like 20 degrees and snowing. So.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And then lastly, I guess, cruiser schedules or second to last cruiser. Did anyone have any ideas on this? The app being better was something I think people mentioned. Yeah, I mean,
it's kind of annoying. You're trying to do the cruiser and take a break, right, when you're waiting at the stop, like 20 minutes away. It's
Okay.
happened a couple of times. So maybe like emphasize when they have breaks.
Okay, any other, yep, Winter?
There's a more discrepancy, like probably increasing since I've been here between the app and the like list of schedules on the other app. So like I would just pick one. Like I don't know like how that would work, but like I feel like a lot of people rely on the schedules that are laid out, but they just don't always follow what the app is tracking.
Okay, anything else on that? Yeah.
I guess just like managing, like sometimes in the app it'll come up as there's like no prediction for when the cruiser will arrive, or according to the schedule, the cruiser was supposed to show up 10 minutes ago and it hasn't. Just like communicating why that is.
Okay.
Either via the app or.
Got it. Okay, is this something that the SAC would be willing to discuss in their meetings? just trying to make sure that we have specific people on these specific projects. Kira, yeah?
Yeah, just thinking like an actual concrete step of that is like figuring out what the discrepancy is. Like, is there something that is inside the cruisers that connects with that real-time tracking and like what might be issues with that? Because that's probably what the problem is.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Okay. And then I know, Micah, you wanted to talk about printing. Did you want to maybe say something on that?
Yeah, briefly. So on Monday, as Luke mentioned, myself and Cecilia joined them to talk about printing on campus, especially printers down the hill. We talked about securing them, making sure that they were kind of cost effective and well maintained. But we also started talking about the interface and everybody's print experience around campus, because I know that personally it has varied for me a lot. And there's also a sustainability aspect of it as well that Cecilia can tell you more about.
I mean, not much has been started yet. A lot of it's like behavior change related, which isn't as simple to fix. But like we're working in the sustainability office and like John D'Amelio, and then the ITS people are also very on board with the sustainability initiative. So, you know, whether that's reworking the like web print software, just something that gives you more options for printing, to at least reduce papers on that end, but also like on the front end of things, kind of minimizing whether it's like your academic class and like paper required for that. But there's a lot of things that can be done with it.
Yeah, and so one of the things that ITS wanted us to do was come to you all and kind of briefly generate some ideas about, first of all, what is your print experience? Have you had a positive experience? Is it frustrating every time you go to print? Does it work? Does it not work? And then what would you recommend for changes to the print experience, so we can take that back to ITS and say, look, this is what Senate likes. This is what we want to do, and then make some concrete steps to actually improve the experience. So, thoughts, Chris?
So, I feel like every time I go to print something through web print, and then it doesn't print because either the printer doesn't work or like something happens, I gotta walk all the way back up to my laptop, redo the whole process again, walk back down, printer's not working. So I feel like there's gotta be some way where it's like, once you hit print, it like the project stays up there until like, almost like you could cancel it out and be like, all right, I finally have my thing. You know what I mean? Like when you swipe your gate card and like pops it right there, like leave it up there until like you check it off or something.
Also, I don't understand like because I feel like printers don't cost that much, why each dorm doesn't just have like one printer. Like I feel like that'd make it a lot easier, especially on like those days with like, for instance, our bad ice and when we just can't get outside. Like it seems like a relatively not a huge monetary cost.
There's a lot of issues with printers. One, they are a big cost. Two, restocking them, who can do that, who can do the cartridges, whether people will damage them if they're not overseen or just in a random commons, et cetera, et cetera. So, but as Jenny said earlier in her report, or maybe it wasn't Jenny, but whoever, there are pushes to get more printers down the hill, but it is not a feasible thing to have a printer in every location.
And just pull another factor too that a lot of people wouldn't think of, but that actually matters a lot, is that ITS staff are not technically allowed in dorms without like a campus safety escort, as far as I understand, or some other like authorized escort. So they can't just go in and change them and keep them up to date without more bureaucracy, which is unfortunate. But I'm down to change that, if that can be changed easily. Other thoughts?
We could have color printing more accessible, and you might say it's expensive, so like ITS would charge like 50 cents or $1 from the gate card when you swipe, because sometimes you really need color printing, but it's not available and you have to go to somewhere to get it color printed. So maybe it will cost you a little money, like 50 cents, but you can still get it color printed.
I like that. That's a cool idea. I was going to say the fact that you can't change how many pages, like you can't say, if I wanted to print something that was 40 pages but I only wanted like page 15 through 19, you can't do that on web print.
Right.
It's a PDF. You would have to log into one of the desktops. Right. And so I'm sure that's a massive waste of paper, I would imagine. So that seems like something that you could fix in the software of web print.
Yeah, and in our meeting with ITS, they were talking about switching to a different sort of cloud where you'd have to download software onto your like personal device, but then you could do a lot more in terms of like formatting and printing of it. So it would work a lot better than web print. So they're like experimenting that now, and they might roll it out in the next few months.
Okay, any last comments? Doesn't have to be on printing, it could be on something we already talked about. If not, okay. All right. So I thought this was really productive. I hope you all did as well. I would encourage. This is in the drive. It's right here. Well, all right. Regardless, it's here. It's in the drive. And if you could, maybe when you meet with your committees, if you're the chair, maybe just open up this document, look at it, and say, maybe we'll tackle this issue this week or this issue next week. It's just meant to be like a useful thing to look at if you don't have any project ideas or you're trying to get the ball rolling. Because these are all things we've thrown out action steps in this one meeting. These are all things that could be achieved. I believe these could all be achieved in a matter of weeks, or at least most of them. Okay, with that, are there any announcements? Okay, well then I'll just reiterate that there is the letter writing event tomorrow. It's sponsored by SGA, so hopefully you all come. And then also the sustainability initiative, carry your trash. Jenny, did you want to add anything?
Hopefully I'll see you guys soon.
Yes, and that will be lovely. With that, the chair would be in favor of a motion to adjourn. Is that seconded? All in favor? It's approved. Enjoy or tolerate the State of the Union if you're watching it.
Have you seen the betting odds for it yet? No. It's so bad. What's going to be said?
They do drinking ones. They do drinking.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Please meet with your committees. Committees are important. Please don't skip your committee meetings.